Yeah, it's lovely being here. I come in from time to time and do a few stories, and this currently is like a bit of a favourite one of mine. But next time I do this here, you might be in for a bit of a treat, because that sometimes goes to me called Tom George. And last week we were in our back room, and he was doing a bit of a guitar accompaniment to it. So when we feel comfortable, we'll come along and do this with a bit of a guitar backing. So we get stories from all around the world. And this story is from Africa. And I'm going to dedicate this story to everyone who's passed on before us. All those people we think about and sometimes talk about. This story is dedicated to them. And the story is set in Africa. That part of Africa where there's plains, there's mountains in the distance, and forests not that far away. And we have the sun, the African sun that's there all the time. Not the English sun that comes out and it feels like, no, the African sun makes your skin brown, makes you sweat go down your back. And the story features a hunter, and his name is Owusu. He has 6 sons, a beautiful wife, and she's expecting another baby. And they're all hoping that'll be another boy. And one day, Owusu goes into his hut because he decided to go hunting, gathers all his family around him, gives them all a hug, then he picks down his weapons from the wall, puts them on his back, and then sets off with a long trail to the forest. Meanwhile, his wife and 6 sons, they go on a journey, they go on a short journey around the back of the village to where all the crops and cattle are, and they tend the crops and look after the cattle, feed them and water them, and in the evening they go back to the hut, make a tea. I wonder if Owusu was going to be home for his tea, but he isn't. And in the morning, he's not back for his breakfast. So they kind of wonder what's happened to him when he's gone hunting. But he wasn't back all that day, all that week. And after a while, they stopped talking about him, just carry on with their lives. Until one day, Owusu's wife gives birth. And she gives birth to a beautiful baby. It's a beautiful baby son. It's the longed-for son. And they all love that baby. They all make a fuss of him. They all cuddle him and coo him. And he's always smiling and happy. And the baby starts to crawl. He starts to walk. And then he starts to talk. And do you know what his first words were? Well, his first words were this: "Where's me dad? Where's me dad?" he goes. And all his brothers gather around. And they go, "Yeah, where is our father? He should have come back a long time ago. Something must have happened. We must find out what it is. But he went to the forest, didn't he? So we must set up on the trail ourselves." So the 6 sons, they set off with the trail for the forest. Well, they search here, they search there, they search high, they search low, until eventually they come across a pile of bones, and there alongside them is the dad's weapons, and they know it's the dad. The dad's died. So they gather around and wonder what it's going to do. And then the first son steps forward and he goes, "Do you know what? I've got power. I've got the power to put bones together." So he settled down and put all the bones together, including those little bones in your ear. And then the second son steps forward. "Well, I've got the power to put flesh on bones." So he kneels down and makes his flesh all over the bones. And the third one goes, "I've got the power to put blood in the body." And the hunter's heart starts to beat. And the fourth one goes, "I've got the power to give breath." And his chest starts going up and down. And the fifth one goes, I've got the power to give movement. So he starts to move. And the sixth one goes, I've got the power to give speech. At which point, Owusu sits up and goes, what the fuck's happened to me? And they all gather around and tell him how they found him and how they all brought him back to life. And of course, they tell him about his son. And of course, he's made up to have a son back home. And they find out his name's Pauli. So they all troop home. Of course, everyone's pleased to see them. His wife cooks him his favourite meal, gives him a bath. Then he spends 4 days in the hut, I should say, recuperating from his ordeal. And on the 4th day, he comes out. Then he does another short walk. He walks around the back of the village to where all his cattle are. And he looks at each of those cattle, because his task is to pick one out for his feast that night. But he pays special attention to the tails. And once he's chosen one, he gets slaughtered, and he takes the tail, takes it back to his hut, then he washes it, he cleans it, he combs it out, then he starts to plait the hair and the tails, and he puts shells in and beads, and he makes a beautiful switch. You know those switches for getting rid of those flies in Africa? He makes one of those. It's the most beautiful cowtail switch everyone's seen. And that night, at the feast, when everyone's eaten anything, he puts his hand up. He says, look, see this cowtail switch? I'm going to give this to the son who did the most to bring me back to life. So of course, the 6 sons all step forwards. And the first one goes, well, of course, it should be me. Because I was the one who put the bones together. And the second goes, well, that's all very well, but he'd just be a skeleton. Should be me, because I put the flesh in the bones. Then the third one goes, well, that's all very well, but everyone knows you need a heart. Then the fourth one says, that's all very well, but everyone knows if you don't know how I give him, he'll die within minutes, because I give him breath. Then the fifth one says, yeah, but he's a hunter. He needs what I give him, which is movement. And the sixth one says, that's all very well, but without my gift, he couldn't even be asking us to give him this task anyway, because I give him speech. So they all started arguing, and it got louder and louder, even more heat, and all of a sudden the hand went up, and the hand was Owusu's, and he said, stop. I'm not giving it to any of yous. What? They said, you what? What's the point of this? He says, no. Then he calls for Pauli. And little Pauli, when he hears his dad's coming, he comes trotting across, and he sits on his dad's knee, and he's looking, Owusu's looking down at his lad, and his lad's looking up at him, and he goes, no, I'm going to do this cowtail switch to Pauli, because he is the one who remembered me. And we have a saying on our village, while a person is not truly dead, while they are still remembered.